Wow, that's a scary. There we go.
Good afternoon. Welcome to ToutSuite Social Club. This afternoon, I am here with Pax and his sister Punky to talk to you about the Pax/Wind Gap wines. And Pax is a old friend of mine. We go way back, and I got some stories later on I want to tell you about. Some little barbecue story.
Oopsie.
But we've also got tuned in. I know we have Terrence Jones has some questions, and I don't know if he's here right now. Do we know? Would he?
He might be. He is.
Yes, we're arriving.
Okay. So maybe we'll wait a bit on that. And I think always a great place to start here is, Pax, tell me how you got started. What led you to the wine biz?
Don't you hate when people ask you that question?
I know, but I love asking it.
Well, I mean, certainly because of wine. I mean, you know, I worked in restaurants, and I was a server that loved wine and a bartender, and ended up becoming a kind of a somm and studying to be a master somm at some point. And,
what year are we at?
This is early 90s. So my now wife Pam, we lived together on Nantucket, and wanted to do something other than just be sommeliers in the wine world. And we thought that working in a vineyard or in a winery made a lot more sense to us. This is where we wanted to be. We decided to move to California.
Does that post-date or predate when I met you from Dean and Deluca days?
Just predates. So Dean and Deluca days when we were hanging out and drinking iced tea together would have been, 90, where's Didier? 8?
98.
98.
Okay. And so from there?
So when I took the job at Dean and Deluca, a really interesting, funny story at least, maybe not interesting. Coming from the East Coast, I mean, I knew California-made wine. You know, we had some California wines on our wine list on Nantucket, and the wine shop that I helped open in 96 or something that was. We sold California wines, but California wines were not my strong point. I lived on the East Coast. I grew up on the East Coast, and those were, the wines of Europe were mostly
more French wines.
Yeah. So I sat down to interview for the job at Dean and Deluca, and just kind of lied my way into the job. And so as the kind of taking on the task at Dean and Deluca as to Merlot and Chardonnay and Cabernets. How are we going to organize the store? Why are we buying these wines? Where is the Pomerol? If we're buying Merlot, where's Pomerol in Napa Valley? Where's Pauillac? Where is Chasson Montrachet? And so that kind of led me to this: where is Côte Rôtie? Where is Hermitage? And that kind of led me to the north coast of California, because there's nobody focusing on Syrah on the north coast. There was only folks down south, John Albin and Alan Tolmack and Bob Lindquist, guys who are still doing it today. And so I thought, if we were to focus on North Coast Syrah, like what a great thing to do. And that's kind of how we started PAX Wine Cellars, and that would be 99, 2000. 2000 was our first vintage.
So this time then in New England, you're more into French wines, and of course You've gone, rather than Bordeaux style, you've gone Rhone.
Yeah. And
how did that passion develop? Is that from East Coast? From your time in East Coast?
Well,
trying
I think
those wines.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that I really wanted to be on the coast of California, more in Sonoma. Not really a Napa guy, and I think that the wines that we chose to work with are wines that are better suited for the climate in Sonoma. Certainly didn't try to mimic Pritchard Hill on the coast of Sonoma. I don't think that would be successful.
I can tell you that, and I'm still going to wait to some of these older stories, but one story I have to go back to is I'm at Treviño in St. Helena one night, and this goes back years, and Pax is there. I met Pax and Pam, both there, and they're having dinner. We're all having dinner there, and Pax has got a bottle of his wine, and I hadn't seen him in a few years, and kind of lost touch. And he said, "Oh yeah, try some Syrah that I'm making." I tried the Syrah, was blown away. It was it's still to this day, it's the most memorable Syrah in my mind, and I still tell everyone that. I always say, "Have you had the PAX Syrah?" I said, "Kick ass." So, I mean, that was. Do you remember that night?
I do.
Good.
Do you remember the night we were having dinner at? Where were we? What's the little place that used to be in Rutherford next to? It moved down to Napa. Ken Frank's restaurant. What's that called? La Toque. We were in between courses, and you got our group up, and we went and did shots of tequila in between our.
No, I don't remember that.
I'll never forget that.
That was a great group. No, it wasn't. I thought it was a great group. And would you say? I mean, this is probably understood, but what would you say you are most known for? What wine? What is your wine you're most?
Oh, certainly Syrah.
Certainly Syrah. No question.
No question.
Because I noticed tonight, as the bottles were being set up, I see this red wine on these. Tell me about that versus I see Syrah on the bottle. Tell me.
So so there's two wines that we bottled in the 2010 vintage that we have here open today. I think we actually have the first one, the Hermit, open in our glass here. So that is 100% Syrah. That's a blend of a couple of different vineyards that we've just given a name to. The second and the third wine in that lineup of wines, the Vicar, named after the Pope, because it's a wine that is kind of an ode to the wines of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. So Grenache based with a little Syrah, a little Mourvedre.
Can't wait to try that.
And then the third wine that you're referring to, red wine, it's 90% Grenache and 10% Mourvedre. So rather than calling it Grenache this year and red wine next year, we just call it James Berry Vineyard, and then we call it red wine. And we give the percentage of breakdown on the back of the label, just so that we can just kind of stay constant with, even though that the blend will alter from year to year based on crop load and such on and so forth.
And that brings me to a question, actually, that Didier sort of like snuck to me to ask, but it does make sense. Are you using more or less, are you still with the same vineyards,
Yes.
more or less? Okay, you were.
Yes.
Since you started.
Yes.
Stayed with the same guys.
Yep.
Okay, so you can have a constants in...
Exactly right. Griffin's Lair, been working with them ever since their first vintage, which was our third vintage. First vintage of Griffin's Lair was 2002. And Alder Springs was one of the reasons we started PAX Wine Cellars. That vineyard in Mendocino County we've been working with since their very first crop in the year 2000, and we haven't missed a single vintage.
Wow, long time. Good contracts with these people. Handshake.
I mean, that's
the
best contracts are not.
Yeah, that's what I've always found. People will not break that. Maybe breaking from that is Terrence. You there? He's coming. Hi.
Yeah, I'm here. You got me?
Yeah.
We got you.
This is great.
Yeah, sorry. The delays got everything a little bit confused over here, but we're happy to talk to you. We have a Wind Gap open here and a 06 PAX Hillsides that we're about to enjoy.
Awesome.
So thanks for being online. Anyway, I believe I heard somebody earlier mentioning my question in the preview, but my big question, of course, with both PAX and Wind Gap being kind of, obviously cooler climate and less forward sort of wines, how do you approach, for example, a vintage such as 2011 that's already cool, and then you have these cool coastal vineyards on top of that? And following that up, I know you started to see some scores come out in the press for that. How do you feel about kind of modest scores with your whole approach, So I'll leave it like that. I want to turn up the volume so the rest of the guys here can hear that. If you could answer that, that'd be great, please.
Great question. I'd like to answer the modest scores first. What's so interesting about scores is that, and this conversation came up today on my bike ride with some friends. I've always felt that the strike zone for wines that I want to drink is somewhere between 86 and 89 points. Those to me are the wines that taste best on the table with the food that I'm having. Those are the wines that I drink on a daily basis. The 98-point wines, like my friend David's here, are really, really special wines and really big, rich wines that go with big, special dinners. And I eat very well, but I don't eat like that every night of the week.
No.
And so, I mean, where I live my life and what I drink, that's kind of where I come from. You know, when PAX was in its heyday, I would open, you know, the Wine Advocate and, you know, my heroes of the wine world, you know, the Jamets and Alamans and all these, you know, guys that have been making Syrah longer than I've been alive. I mean, these incredible vineyards, these just, you know, just magical wines. They would be getting 89 points in the Wine Spectator, and I'd be getting, or in Wine Advocate.
Yeah, Parker.
That's right. I haven't had enough to drink. And I would be getting like 98 points, and it was just really a weird thing that it really grappled with it for a long time. So, I mean, I think that we all need to learn that scores are a very important way of conveying information and conveying an individual's snapshot on what is in their glass. But, you know, I mean, you know, to me, scores are such an insignificant part. They're a huge part of selling wine, but they're a very small part of drinking wine. And I drink wine. I do sell wine too, thankfully. But the modest score things, you know, I think that in a vintage like 2011, we need to see a more modest score because it is a struggle to get those grapes ripe. The wines are, I mean, going back hundreds of years, vintages in Bordeaux, you know, or great vintages in Burgundy. You know, the bigger, the riper vintages, those wines are gone. They're over the hill. Those off vintages, those cooler vintages are the wines that are so collectible and still drinkable to this day. So, I mean, but at the time, those wines were harder. They were not as pretty, not as approachable. And, I mean, I just think that that's life. I mean, I think that vineyards, wherever they're located, they should taste like where they're grown rather than taste like some sort of manipulation to try to achieve something that isn't true to where they're from. Same with vintage, to try to manipulate or add something or take something away from something in order for it to taste not like the vintage it's from it's not worth it. I mean, it's not worth the extra couple of points. I mean, you're kind of stealing the identity of what you're trying to capture. And that's what wine is all about. Wine is about a time. Wine is about a place. Wine is about sitting down and, I mean, if you have a bottle of wine open with your friends, I mean, my friends don't ask me what it scored. They ask me to pass the bottle or to open something else.
Right.
I mean, it's all about
playing it straight, make the best wine you can in that vintage.
Yeah.
And the people that have tried your wines in the past will trust you through that vintage.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And they'll enjoy it.
But, you know, 2011 was a really hard vintage, Terrence. I mean, not only was it a hard vintage to be a winemaker, it was a hard vintage to live in California. I mean, we didn't ripen tomatoes until like October. I mean, you know, we saw sun like 4 times that summer. Right. I mean, it was brutal. It was not fun. I mean, mildew, rot, I mean, everything. I mean, we were in the vineyards. I mean, it was bad. And you know, what's really interesting about that, and this is not me putting my sales hat on, I mean, I love the 2011 wines. I mean, I think the Wind Gap 2011 Chardonnays are, you know, brilliant for their acidity. You know, maybe like when we're picking the grapes and we're looking at those numbers, we're like, oh, geez, you know, what's this gonna taste like, you know? You know, the Wind Gap Syrah, which is currently on the market, I mean, it's a brilliant wine. I mean, it's 11.7% alcohol, and it's like loaded with depth and character, and I mean, it's fantastic. So, you know, and I think it's those vintages are also very important because they're super educational for people that are making wine. Because we're all taught that, oh, you pick on flavor, you have to have this number, you have to do this, you have to do that. All of these things that are not true in order to make great wine. I mean, just because in California you can pick at this level doesn't mean you should. And vintages like 2011 or 2008, how are your 08s holding up compared to your 07 or your 9?
Actually, I'm liking the way some wines that I made very heavy-handed early on.
Yeah.
Are a little bit tougher now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question about it. But I love the 11s as well. I just want to ask Terrence. Terrence, did we get that question handled for you?
Yeah, that's the approach, I think a lot of my friends have. Like you say, it's not about the scores. It's about whether or not you want to have another glass or finish your glass. We're all up here.
Right.
We're all up here in Paso Robles, so we understand.
Awesome.
We understand ripeness. Yeah.
Yes.
And that James Berry fruit has a special place in our heart, of course. For
awesome. Well,
ripeness,
we love Paso. I love riding my bike down there. I love hanging out with the people. I love being down there. It's just, I think it's a really, really fantastic part of the world. So thank you for joining us from there. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great to see all the success too, all the great wines from Paso. I mean, over the last 10 years, how Paso has come alive. Yeah, and they deserve it. So it's great. Yeah. We have another question, and this comes from Frank Murray.
Frankie, baby. The third.
Frank.
Question for Pax. I'd like to understand the cooperage approach he is applying to the new PAX wines with a contrast to how those relate to the Wind Gap wines. By the way, tell Pax I dig the hair he is rocking.
We just talked about that before we got up here. Going on here, 1992.
Yeah.
So, cooperage.
First the hair. No. Another great question. Thank you very much, Frank.
For the hair.
For the hair comment. It's funny. When somebody asked me a question, I did an awesome tasting on Monday in San Francisco called In Pursuit of Balance, and you're restricted to Pinot Noir and Chardonnay at the event, and it's a membership only thing, and it's a really, really dynamic group of people, and we had this just amazing turnout, and it was super fun. And somebody asked me a very similar question, you're making where are you making the wines, where are you doing this, and how do you handle them differently? When we pick the vineyards and grapes are brought into the winery, there's one way we do things, and there's different ways we handle different varietals, of course, but we don't really differentiate. My plan at Wind Gap was to not use or not to rely on new oak characteristics in the wine, and to work with great old vineyards that didn't need that kind of support. And so we don't use new oak barrels at Wind Gap, and we don't use new oak barrels at PAX. That being said, I think there's a new, I always buy, actually Espen's here tonight. I think I bought 4 or 6 barrels from Espen 3 years ago, and I still have 3 that I haven't unwrapped yet. So, not what he wants to hear, but kind of the reality. I just don't... to where I have kind of evolved with what the flavors that I enjoy, I've kind of grown away from the flavor of new oak. It's just not something I want to have in our wines. That being said, the wines that we're making are from these very coastal vineyards that are very cool, that aren't super powerful, that aren't being picked very late or very ripe. And so it has nothing to do with, if I was making wine from Pritchard Hill, would I be buying new oak barrels? Fuck yes, of course. That would be that's what you need. You don't need to. It's something that really helps those wines evolve. It's something that really helps those wines kind of come together, and it's something that really makes those wines great. So there's a time and a place for everything, and for what we're working with, I haven't felt the need for too much new oak. So how does that differ from what we used to do at PAX Wine Cellars? It differs quite a bit. Most of the wines were 30 to 40% new oak barrels at PAX Wine Cellars.
Including your Chardonnay program, if you're speaking to that.
No. Well, we never made Chardonnay at PAX. PAX was all Syrah.
So this is Wind Gap. The Chardonnay.
Chardonnay is Wind Gap, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but how is old PAX compare? How does PAX 2.0 compare to 1.0? Mm-hmm. No new wood, and we did use new oak barrels at PAX, and the first time around, and I don't have any plans to use any new oak at this point.
Because I know at my own place, and I'm seeing the consumers react more and more to almost any oak, where before there was never seemed to be a problem. And I don't know, Jack, what you're hearing about this, but I'm hearing now more and more visitors that we have say, "Keep this on oak because I really can't." and they're looking for this unoaked thing. And I'm, part of me says, great, I've cut some wine here that's soaked, and they've just asked for unoaked. But there's another side of me that says, great, no more buying brand new French oak barrels at $1,500 a barrel for Chardonnay. So,
well, again,
dollars.
Should everybody make a non-oaked Chardonnay because somebody comes in and says they don't like it? No, you need to make the wine that you believe. Should everybody make a lower alcohol wine because they can get into a little club? Absolutely fucking not. I mean, should you do anything because of some outside? No 5 people ever create anything great. I mean, everybody, it has to come from you. And if we're lucky enough to find a vineyard where I'm like, man, if we were to do some oak fermentation on this, it would make this amazing wine, then we will use new oak barrels. I mean, it's not this dogmatic approach to I don't use new oak barrels. We don't use new oak barrels because of the vineyards we're sourcing from currently.
Is Frank tuned in? Is Frank on right now?
He's watching and chatting.
Okay.
He is on.
Okay, Frank, I hope we answered that, and the hair looks good. We're looking at the hair.
You can see it from this angle.
Much better. I'm going to jump way back to a question I had at the very beginning.
Way back.
Top of the page for me. Because there's actually some confusion for me. I mean, he's told me before, but I think I was probably drinking when he told me. So we're going to go again. And whether this is, maybe Punky wants to tell us.
Punky should definitely start talking.
I don't think so.
Tell me.
I'm learning.
How do we best understand the difference between PAX and Wind Gap?
Definitely a Punky question.
No.
Is that a Punky?
I am a Wind Gap buyer, by the way.
Okay.
I am in charge of PAX on the front end there. So
yeah.
And how do we best describe that for people so that people out there who tried the PAX wines and then they heard about Wind Gap and there's a whole story that went on that I think needs to be told.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
whatever it can be.
Yes. So what's very important about the difference between PAX and Wind Gap is that we started Wind Gap. Pam and I started Wind Gap together when PAX Wine Cellars. We made 15 Syrahs. Literally, probably even higher. Let's say 15 is a good number to go.
It was more.
It was way more.
It was way more.
Anyway, so too many, we'll say. There's wines that were 15.5% alcohol, and there's wines that are 12% alcohol. To me, it made perfectly good sense. We were a study, an immersion in Syrah. We're making wine that's tasting like where it's grown, and we're putting that in the bottle. And I'm a wine geek, and I want people to try this. And that's what we wanted to do at PAX. And
all right, and again, the year, more or less.
This is, so we'll say 05 as a good middle ground from the beginning. And so what's really important about that is we had too many wines at a certain point. But to me, I mean, I would go to the store and I would see Chapoutier Hermitage on the shelf. I know it's 100% Syrah. I know it's made by Michel Chapoutier, and I know it's going to be 15% alcohol. Right next to it is Chapoutier Crozes Hermitage. I know it's made by Michel Chapoutier. I know it's from the Northern Rhone Valley, from Crozes Hermitage, and I know it's going to be 12% alcohol. But hundreds of years of Crozes Hermitage and Hermitage are a little bit more easy for people to understand than 4 years of some guy with bad hair. So we made the conscious decision to kind of pull the cool climate stuff out of PAX Wine Cellars lineup so that we could kind of focus in on what we were kind of getting the most attention for at PAX to make it a little bit more easy for our customers to kind of, sink their teeth into. And in the process of doing so, Pam and I really wanted to keep those vineyards and make those vineyards, but we didn't want it to be confusing for people. So we thought, why not give this wine a name that kind of references where it's grown and not do so many different vineyard designates, just have a wine that's called Wind Gap Syrah so that people could go and they could buy the wine and they would know exactly what it's going to taste like.
And when you're saying cool climate, am I to associate lower alcohol with that? No. Yes?
Yeah. So those vineyards, Magic Vineyard, the first crop from the vineyard was 03. The first time we bottled Magic on its own was 04. That wine was 12.5% alcohol in the PAX lineup. We still use Magic Vineyard under the Wind Gap label. That wine is 12.2 to 12.5% alcohol, 11 in 2011. But yes, a very extreme cool place. That is what we're given from that vineyard. We can't get the grapes over 22 bricks. It's just too coastal and too cold and such. And yeah. So we launched. Why don't you guys open those?
There's another key over there.
There you go.
Keep you on a short lead. So with launching the pack, we would go to New York or Chicago or LA or Texas, and we would do a winemaker dinner, and we would sit down, and the first course would be pork belly, second course would be duck, third course would be, you know how these go. Yeah. Last course would be lamb, and then the prime rib for six. And so, when we were kind of giving a home to these lower alcohol vineyards and these cooler sites, we were like, why don't we make this really funky Pinot Gris that's fermented on its skin? Let's make some Chardonnay from like vineyards and kind of have this kind of complete lineup, so that we can complement what we were doing at PAX Wine Cellars. Not compete, not take away from, but complement what we were doing at PAX. And that was why we launched Wind Gap. So partnership issues, litigation, a couple, 18 months of that. We're doing Wind Gap, where we've dissolved the PAX brand temporarily, and now we get the opportunity, because of seeing the litigation through and persevering, we get the opportunity to now launch the PAX wines to complement what we're doing at Wind Gap. Because while we love working with these great coastal vineyards that make these cool, zippy, zesty, lower alcohol wines, we love what Alder Springs and Griffin's Lair and James Berry Vineyard from Paso Robles, we love those wines too, and we want to continue making those. We want to have those wines to complement what we're doing at Wind Gap. So,
right. Yeah, I mean, for me, I can tell you, this really helps me, because I thought there was PAX, and then, through some time, I thought then Wind Gap was started separately. I didn't realize they both operated at the same time.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So this helps me.
Excellent. And people are asking me, like, now that you're launching PAX, is Wind Gap going to go away?
Yeah.
I mean, Wind Gap is a juggernaut. I mean, this brand is growing so fast, and people love. I mean, we are so fortunate that people have embraced what we're doing at Wind Gap. That we love what we do there. I mean, it's our baby. It's we love it. So they're going to continue to complement each other in the marketplace.
Great. Thank you for that. The question comes in from John Betts. I don't know if John Betts is on. Is John Betts?
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Hey,
Okay,
John.
Hi, John. So John Betts from Chicago. John, this first thing says, so Punky back with PAX full-time?
Nope, not full-time. I'm moonlighting.
And what's your other
What's my other
occupation?
Oh, I'm a wine buyer for Lot 18. Online retail environment.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you want to go into more? Okay.
Nah.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Fine.
John, you got to get good with that.
But Punky, as you probably well know, and as certainly John knows with this question, yeah. Punky did worked at PAX Wine Cellars. Probably what was it? 03 you started.
Yeah, 03. Exactly.
From 03 until 06, kind of our heyday. Was on the phone every single day. I mean, at Christmas time, the boxes of presents that she got was ridiculous. There'd be all this activity, and then the phone would be ringing, and I'd run over and I'd be like, "Hello, this is PAX. Can I help you?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, can I talk to Punky?" I'd be like, "Yeah, sure." And the next, the phone would ring again. I'd be like, "Punky, gotta hold on too." And I'd four's ringing. I'd be like, "Hi, this is PAX. Can I help you?" And yep.
But this PAX 2.0 is the band is back together. It's our opportunity to pick up where we left off.
Oh, I really love the family thing. I love brother and sister.
Me too.
I work with my daughter.
Don't forget Pam.
And Pam. There's always Pam's the backbone. She's the backbone.
That's right. She keeps us out of trouble.
She does what she can.
Yeah, she tries her best.
Jay Hack has a question.
Jay, my buddy Jay.
How do you think older stuff is aging? I've got PAX 1.0 back to 2004 and a bunch of 2004 Agartha.
Yeah.
And none of it seems to be falling apart like the doubters predicted. By the way, hi, Frank.
It's an incestuous little community we live in.
Oh,
it's all.
So good they're back, though.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you,
doubt.
guys.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So, yeah.
How's the older stuff aging?
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. I think if you're fortunate, if you have the opportunity to create something, you will always kind of ask yourself if you could have done it better. And I look back on particularly the 2004 vintage, which was a very warm year in California. If I could have done things to maybe make those wines better. And definitely there's a lot of regret or missed opportunity, I think, with the 2004s. And there's such big, bombastic, amazing wines in their youth. Do I think that maybe picking, a couple of days earlier here and there could have maybe made a difference? Probably. But these are, the vineyards that we work with, the way they're farmed, the yields that we're pulling off of these sites, the extreme nature of what we're doing, the way they're handled in the winery. If they're not going to, these are, it's 10 years now. How did we do 10 years from the vintage date, right? Yeah. Wow. These wines have a long way to go. 05 is way longer to go than the 04, but the 04s are, I find that the tannins are still very supportive. I find that wines are still very fresh, loaded with fruit. But
this wine, as a matter of fact, the tannins, there's a lot of structure here.
Yep.
The tannins are soft. Really approachable, not that rip your gums out.
I think that's the Vicar.
That's the Vicar. I can tell by the color.
Really like that.
Love
really
that.
like the Vicar.
So yeah,
I call him the thinker. He's the thinker of the lineup.
Oh,
yeah.
She comes up with all the good things.
Is this from are we talking current Pope?
Yeah.
Yes,
this is current Pope. Oh, we do like
Happy Pope.
We do like the current Pope. Yeah. But no, the Hermit is named after the single person, the individual that the Hill of Hermitage is named after, and the Vicar is named after the individual who Chateauneuf de Pape is named after, the new home of the Pope. So that's kind of our way of kind of identifying what the wines are, and also giving them proprietary names.
Okay. All right. We have another question from Frank. Frank Murray III.
Frank, remind me to send you a $20 bill.
Money's coming. Pax, I'm having trouble drinking anything red that is above 14. I'm going to say it's 14% anymore. This is why your wines have fit so well for me as my palate has changed. I know the new stuff is pushing above that, and the alcohol is just a number. But as I age, the alcohol is harder on me. I did buy in on some of the new stuff, although with an eye to the lower PAX ABV. ABV.
Punky, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, right.
ABVs?
Thank you, Frank. Saw that come in. Really appreciate it.
Oh, okay.
So, like the percentage.
So, can we address this one?
Yeah.
Frank, I
think you run right along with that, don't you? Feel the same?
I do. We brought these. We're cooking. We have a great group of people here tonight. We're all friends and people we haven't seen in a long time. People we don't get to see enough of because we don't come this side of the hill that much. We've got great wine. The great PAX wines open tonight. We're going to cook some tri-tip. I got a bottle of Nellis Syrah that's 11.5% back alcohol behind me that I'm going to drink with my dinner tonight. So, to answer your question, Frank, I totally feel what you're saying. And again, back to the beginning of what we were talking about, that is definitely the type of wine I drink on a daily basis. There are times when it gets a little later into the evening and you're having a big, rich meal, and there is a place for wines like that. I do have an issue with a lot of wines that are elevated in alcohol, particularly when it's warm outside, or particularly if I'm having food that's inappropriate with it. But I don't blame that on the wine. I blame that on myself and kind of like you, where your tastes are. So I thank you for giving us a chance, Frank, and buying some of the PAX 2.0 without a doubt. I don't think that you're going to taste these wines and think that they are high in alcohol. I don't think that you're going to taste these wines and think that they are low in alcohol, but these are big, rich wines. The best example I can give is the Griffin's Lair Syrah.
Nice.
But is that all you like? No, of course not. But that's no. I mean, But I mean, Griffin's Lair Syrah. Our first vintage was 2002. Where am I looking? Here?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Griffin's Lair Syrah, first vintage, 2002, 13.7, 2003, 13.9, 2004, the ripest we bottled from Griffin's Lair, 15.1, 2005, I think it was 14. So, I mean, this PAX bottling, I have no idea what this one is because I can't hold anything else in my mind because I have so much others. But, I mean, this wine, we've never made it differently. These wines are always very big, very rich, very concentrated. But the alcohols are what they are. I don't care if they're high. I don't care if they're low. But Wind Gap was bottled under, I'm sorry. I have a question. Hold on, let me finish. Griffin's Lair was bottled under Wind Gap because it's smack dab in the middle of the Petaluma Wind Gap. This is the reason we started the brand, to showcase this great appellation. And I would be at a dinner, I'd be at an event, and I'd be like, "Ooh, that smells like a PAX wine," and I'd taste it, I'd be like, "Ooh, that's not a Wind Gap wine, that's a PAX wine." So Griffin's Lair is back under the PAX label. But we're not making it differently. We're not like, ooh, we want to make a 15% alcohol wine. No, we want to make the best wine we can. I mean, that's more important than any of that other stuff. Paul, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Back to your earlier in the show, you were talking about the lower scoring wines.
Yes.
The 05s, the 04s, these wines that are holding up so well. Is it possible you can taste that wine now and it would actually have a higher score? I mean,
that's a good question.
Does the score change at all, or is it?
No, it really does. I mean, Jack would be a great person. I mean, like 08, it's like when those wines came out, people were like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like what do we do? It's like people wanted the 07s but I bet that when those wines are retasted, that they are given a total boost in their score. I would have assumed
people are loving 08s.
Yeah, right. They're bright, they're fresh, but I mean they're still Napa. They're still got all that great depth and concentration.
Yeah.
I mean, look at like old Mayacamas wine or like old Philippe Tony or like those wines are lasting forever. And so. So to go back and taste those wines, I mean, 05s didn't score as highly as the 04s. I think I can't say across the board, but I mean, I think
depends on the wine. Yeah,
I think it's important too to note also that the score really doesn't matter. I mean,
it matters to someone.
To some of us it doesn't, because
it matters to a lot. I mean,
a lot of people are marketing. Of course it does.
Yeah, it matters. It matters to the guy. Yeah, no doubt.
Okay.
Stop. Someone stop.
Someone stop. So,
are we
done
talking about
this? This camera right here? Okay. Someone's phone's going.
Let's freshen them up.
Thank you. I'll just go with this. So, Jay again. How do you think your older stuff is aging? I've got PAX 1.0 back to 2004 and a bunch of 2004 Agartha. And none of it seems to be falling apart like the doubters predicted. By the way, hi Frank.
But I didn't answer it in David's defense.
Thank you.
That's great to hear, right? I mean, and I don't know. I guess the doubters are probably people on online forums that may jump to conclusions and think that for some reason. We're certainly told that wines that are higher in alcohol and wines that are bigger and richer don't age as well. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think they age differently. I don't think that it's not that they age as well. The 04 Agartha, I mean, that is a 30-year wine, Jay. I mean, you have to use a hammer to get that thing to fall apart. It's just a big wine. It's a rich wine, but and so I think the doubters always predict things, the doubtful stuff. I think optimistic people probably predict that they were going to last a long time. So, Jay, I just want to say, don't listen to the doubters. That's all I can. That's the only thing I can think of.
All right, then going forward, Frank. I'm sorry I asked that one twice. I apologize. Thank you.
No, I didn't answer it the first time.
Thank you. So then, Frank, we have another question from Frank Murray.
Oh, pizza, that looks good.
I know.
That does look good. Yeah, bring that on.
Perfect.
Jay, the question. Jay, I still have some 2002 Castelli in the cellar and wonder how that is tracking. I know the 2005 is in a great place. Wonder what PAX thinks of the 2002 in terms of age.
Well, my favorite wine.
2002?
Castelli Night Ranch.
Yeah.
That is a otherworldly wine.
So that wine is 16.7.
Or something. Yeah, it's up there.
We bottled three wines at PAX Wine Cellars in all of the years of I think it was 90 some wines that I bottled under PAX Wine Cellars. 3 of them were over 16% alcohol. But if you asked anybody, every wine was over 16. But it's 16.7, a very big wine, a very rich wine, a very ripe wine. But all of the O2s and Napa too. I mean, the O2s are just electric.
Yeah, I love O2.
I mean, there's it's like O2 red Burgundy. I mean, there's like so much depth and richness, but this like brilliant kind of streak of acidity and energy. Yeah, no doubt about it. I love the O2s. Whether or not a wine that's 16.5% alcohol is gonna last as long as I don't know. I mean, last time I had the O2 Castelli was probably 2-3 years ago, and it was very ripe. It tasted a lot like a dry port, and it was shockingly interesting.
Still real concentrated.
Oh yeah, painfully concentrated.
Almost youthful though, still. Right?
Yeah, definitely. I love. You know what? But see, I love the 03. The 03 to me is above it. I mean, far and away, I think probably the best wine that I've ever made. I love the 03 Castelli Night Ranch. It's just very peppery and spicy and concentrated, but more tannic and more rustic and more, I think, age-worthy than 02 and 04.
This is really good for me to hear. I mean, this is all stuff that I would not get if I'm just hanging out with my cab people. And this is where I get my education. Thank you. Tell me about this wine that you poured. I haven't tried this one yet. The first one.
So,
what is that?
So Terrence's group. This is West Paso. This is
Paso people.
James Berry Grenache. There's a little bit of Mourvèdre in there.
I love this.
Love it.
It's very light in the glass. I mean, it's a very pretty wine, but huge depth, huge concentration.
What a great food wine.
Yeah, yeah. The highest alcohol wine in the lineup from 2010. It's from Pasarola, so it shouldn't come as any surprise. It's not something we did different. This is grown in pure limestone, literally chalk. I mean, it is amazing.
Just white.
Just white. There's not soil, just chalk. Just because of the alkaline quality of the soil, because it's so very high in pH, the wines are just brilliant with acidity.
Comparing this to its French counterpart.
Compared to its French counterpart, it's probably, the French counterpart to this wine
would be what?
Would be, there's no limestone in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. There is some underlying lime, but it's more sand or rock. Yeah. So, as much depth and richness. I mean, this wine kind of reminds me of, call it like a 98 Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Maybe, yeah. So kind of before they got too kind of crazy, but definitely on the riper side. This wine has a lot of ripeness, a lot of richness.
Chateau Gloria-ish?
That's Bordeaux.
That's Bordeaux. What's,
so do you like Beaucastel but this isn't Mourvèdre enough. This is more... Well, I don't know. I'd hate to throw names out there because people think I'd be comparing it to that wine. This is more southern Rhone Valley, Châteauneuf-du-Pape and whatnot.
I love that. And then the second wine?
Second wine is Alder Springs.
Yes.
And where is this?
So Mendocino County, as far north as you can go in Mendocino County before you get to Humboldt County. Sandstone soils.
Have you checked out the color of this?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Look at that.
Yeah, it's dark.
Hold it.
Yeah, Monica, don't get this on
like
dress.
that? Oh.
This is not for you, yeah. I mean, this is killer.
Put it on your hair. Yeah, there you go.
This is inky stuff.
Oh. But this is alder, right? This is quintessential.
Alder Springs Syrah. Super high elevation, pure sandstone, crazy low yields. I mean, the pictures of this vineyard it's just dramatic.
Oh.
Some vineyards make great wine, and they just kind of are a vineyard. Other vineyards are dramatic and steep and rocky, like your vineyard, my friend. You know, just like you look at it and you're like, wow, good wine comes off of this vineyard. And Alder Springs, it leaves no doubt. I mean, it is a dramatic place.
I think something people, if anyone was starting a winery, and you've listened to PAX, my question would be, how do you find these places? How did you find Alder Springs? Was it some wine that you had tried made from there and you went, wow, I've got to get in touch with this guy. I've got to get a hold of this vineyard, this grower.
Great question. So I was, as you know, wine buyer for Dean Deluca Corporation. I was in the cellar with Donald Pax, and we were trying a Chardonnay from Alder Springs Vineyard, and he told me this story about this guy up in Laytonville, California, who farmed with a magnifying glass and tweezers and was just like crazy guy. He was out in the middle of nowhere.
Mr. Meticulous.
Just, bought, all of the ranches around his ranch so that nobody else could kind of infringe on what he's doing, and just kind of was doing some crazy thing. I found Stu's name, got his name, because I told Donald, I'm like, you got to get me in touch with this guy. Donald's like, screw you, you're not going to steal my Chardonnay. You're not going to steal my Chardonnay. I'm like, I don't want Chardonnay, I want Syrah. And I called up Stu. I asked him if I could, if he would plant Syrah, and he's like, I planted a little bit of Syrah. Are you interested in it? And I was like, am I interested in it? And so 2000 Alder Springs Syrah.
I hate to see that dump. That was really...
No worries, it's coming back to you.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, really distinctive wine. I mean, I love this. Excellent. And I don't know if this is because this is that Syrah that I think I had, or it reminds me of the style that I had from you way back in the PAX day at Trevino. And I fell in love with the wine, and I just was blown away that my friend Pax was producing this. I mean, so I have to share a little story with you right now.
Mom, turn off the TV.
Mom, it's just a fun.
Actually, you've already heard it, because it's at least 10 years old, so you've already heard it, right?
Yeah,
so that's the deal.
You might double that out.
So actually, this involved, it was DDA and you, and I think Juan Mercado. I think it was.
You probably could have.
I think it was 3, maybe it was 4 or 5 of us. But they came up to my place, and I had this barbecue, and remember that? And he brings up some great New York strips, or just some great beef, and we got the barbecue fired up, and we got the wines going, and we're having this, and Pax is shaving some truffles on top of these steaks, and I'm going, wow, this is great. I'm a lot of steak, but God, truffles right there on the barbecue. I thought, this is incredible. And so this becomes his show on my barbecue. And so he's now got the tongs or maybe it was the.
This is not a surprise to
anyone. I'm wondering if you remember this. So there was four New Yorks, or 1 for each of us, and Pax is talking, and the spatula hits the edge of the meat on one, and the steak goes doing and flies off and down, and this $30 steak just goes
$60 steak.
$6 steak.
That was the truffles.
Yeah, with the truffles. That's right. You were there. So I mean, it was a great afternoon though, and that was my first experience with Pax and his friends and Didier, and just you meet this guy and you love him, and it's just fun. It's fun to know you.
It's fun to know
you. And
it's
really fun. It's really fun to have been in this business as long as I have, and have met you and seen your progress and where you've come and what you've come to be. And I'm super proud of.
Thanks,
of course, you know that. I am very proud. It's just cool.
Appreciate that.
So going forward.
What wine?
Oh, I have this wine.
Griffin.
Oh, we'll talk about the wine, but in this wine, before we get to this wine, what do we see for Pax and Wind Gap in the future? We're looking 10 years down the road. What do we see?
10 years down the road.
What do we see?
10 years down the road?
I know.
I don't know.
I don't know. Pam?
You know what, I asked this question because it was asked for me the other day. I couldn't answer.
Bueller calling Pam?
Yeah. Pam, where are we going to be in 10 years?
What are we allowed to say? Yeah.
Did Jack in on this? Yeah.
Jack's in on it. There you go.
Oh, boy. Well, hopefully we're in a position of being lucky enough to make wine. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we are respected by our peers, and hopefully you're still a friend.
Oh, that's a given.
Nice.
I think, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I don't see, because I found out this recently for myself. I thought at one point I might retire from this business, and quite frankly, you know, when the market crashed in 2008 and it got very tough, and you know, all the people told us, "I'm sorry, no wine's over $30." Remember the whole thing? They weren't going to buy it. It was crazy. Well, I found now from fighting that struggle back, I don't see myself ever retiring, and I don't see you ever retiring. I see this. I mean, they're going to have to put us in the coffin. I don't. Do you feel that way about yourself?
I totally do.
Yeah.
I totally do. I don't know anything else. I mean, I was in New York City last week, and I did a podcast, and it happened to come on the same day that we launched the offer.
Yeah.
And you know,
That's nice.
I sat back and well, it probably won't be aired for another couple of weeks. Okay. It's not a live thing, and I mean, I hit just a lot of work that goes into these offers. That new websites, new platforms, yada yada yada, the boring stuff, the unfun stuff. Actually. And I hit send. And, I thought it was just going to be this like, okay, finally, I hit send, and now I can go do my lunch and do my thing. Yeah. I mean, what a cathartic moment for me, to send this email with the PAX name on the label, with all of this stuff.
All the work that's going on.
It was just like, okay, the PAX want, we're doing this. I didn't know I didn't know I was going to feel that way. Yeah. And that's because there's so much of all of us, including anyone and everyone in this room, into what we do. And, you have to know that for every person that thinks you are brilliant, somebody thinks you're a hack. For somebody that thinks that you are, and that's just that just comes with the territory. But, for me that day, just to hit that button, it was really a power. I was like giddy, and then I was like sad, and I was like emotional, and then I was like, it was just and I think that's because the reasons that we're in this business is just something that's just, there's just so much more to us than points.
I will tell you, to that end, meeting PAX and getting to know him, truthfully, and this is deadly true, what I've found is that you see the passion in this guy, and I thought I was passionate after I've been with him, and you get to him and you see this guy totally go after this winemaking. It's just so crazy about it, so much passion. It actually, quite frankly, you rubbed off on me a little bit. That's a reverse deal because I'd been in it, of course, before you. But I found that I gained more passion from knowing PAX, and that's something I didn't expect in my own life. I didn't expect that to happen, so I thank you. I owe you for that one. Talking about the website, I've heard some news about the website. Did we launch a new website? Is it about to be launched? Where are we on this?
We are live. PaxWine.com. So we launched a week ago, I guess, and that's all of the 2010 wines. The cool thing is that PAX is tasting this in advance of anyone else getting these wines.
This is my first time listening.
Yeah, it's only my second.
That's true.
And it's blood, for God's sake. I'm blood.
That is true.
So I'm right behind you.
Yeah, exactly. So no, we are live, absolutely. The interesting thing is that we just need to let more people know that we are back. We kind of call it the PAX 2.0. It resonates with people. They get that just because of,
Okay, can people get tasting notes from there? Can they purchase from there?
Absolutely. Right now we have a wide open allocation. We want anyone to have the ability to come on, have the ability to review the wines that are available, and buy what you want.
I will tell you, and just from being in this business a long time, that will close, people. You're not going to have
it will close, by the way.
It will close. We were talking about this earlier, and he sold his wines before they were even bottled, and I see that coming very soon again.
Yeah.
They're not going to be around. You don't find wines this good And when I tasted, like I said, the passion is there. I mean, you are a stickler. You are. Not always, you know what? He's not
an adjective I would use or descriptor I would use, but good to know.
Yeah, he's a stickler. He's a stickler.
That's awesome. So this last wine, though, this is the Griffin. So this is the wine that kind of brings the thread all the way through.
Yep.
From PAX to Wind Gap, back to PAX 2.0.
And again, Griffin Vineyard is?
In the Petaluma Wind Gap. It's 100% Syrah. Very cold, very coastal, but a big, rich, full-bodied wine.
And I want to go back actually now to Petaluma Wind Gap, because I was saying Wind Gap, I've said Wind Gap to people. So it is the gap of these mountains in Petaluma, where the wind races through there.
So the coastal hills of California, there's low points from the receding waters. And there's multiple ones up and down the coast. The most significant one in our area is the Petaluma Gap, and the Petaluma Gap is what makes the Russian River Valley cold. So as it gets hot in Sacramento in the Central Valley, the heat, the sun hits the concrete and hits the rock and hits the mountains, and it creates this this heat, and the convection effect pulls the air upwards, which then draws air from the valleys around it, which draws
the bay,
draws from Napa Valley, which then draws from Sonoma Valley, which has to then draw from the coast. So it pulls in this cool coastal fog, which fills up the Green Valley first, and then the Russian River Valley. So the Green Valley is the coldest part of the Russian River Valley. So because it's the first to get the fog and the last to where the fog recedes. And so without the gap, without the Petaluma Wind Gap, we would probably be growing Cabernet and Russian River. But because of it, we're ripening, struggling to ripen Syrah and ripening beautiful Pinot Noir and whatnot. Similar in the Santa Cruz Mountains, there's gaps in the low points in the coastal hills. There's the Templeton Wind Gap. Our friends here are very thankful for the Templeton Gap because of the cool coastal breezes that come in the afternoon. It can be 100 degrees in the day in Paso Robles, and then 4 o'clock in the afternoon you have these cold coastal breezes that come blowing down Highway 37.
Cools everything down.
And so that is an influence. So where does the name come from? It comes from this geological formation that helps kind of shape the wines. But I was on a bike ride. I ride my bike a lot. I ride my bike around Petaluma. We live out on the coast, and it's always very windy at a certain time. And you try to get out on your bike and back before the winds start. And one day I'm riding with Justin Smith, who is the viticulturalist and owner of the James Berry Vineyard with his family. And we are riding out Highway 37 on our bicycles, and there's just this breeze right in my face. And I'm just like, what are you doing to me? He's like, it's the Templeton Wind Gap, as he kind of pulls away from me up the hill. And I'm thinking to myself, what is it with me and wind gaps? This is crazy. Like everywhere I ride my bicycle, there's a wind gap. And at this whole time, my wife and I are trying to come up with a name for the winery, and I was just kind of like,
Now, and you mentioned Santa Cruz just briefly in that,
yes.
in the comment, because I still have some property in Santa Cruz Mountains.
We should talk.
We should talk.
Beautiful.
We will talk. What do you see for the Santa Cruz wines?
We have 2 vineyards in the Santa Cruz Mountains. There's no future.
Why drop that bomb on me?
We have 2 vineyards in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and we make Pinot Noir from both of them, Chardonnay from one of them, as he grows both. Amazing place to grow grapes. The mountain influence, the cool. It's just a great place. Cabernet is amazing from the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Okay, I wouldn't think that. I would think
Ridge Montebello is.
Ridge. See, I think of Ridge and. We'll start there. Ridge is where I got my start.
Yeah.
That's where I fell in love with wines, was the Ridge wines.
Yeah.
But I think of that more as Palo Alto Hills, if you will.
It is northern,
But I think of Santa Cruz, our ranch is in the Ben Lomond area.
Yes.
Do you know that area?
I do.
And I'm wondering what to do with that.
You should plant some grapes for us.
Yeah.
Can you tell me exactly what
you just saw this now take place?
Handshake.
That's
Can we see a handshake,
that's how deals are done.
that's it right there.
See, handshake. I'm not sure what we shook on, but
that's
I think I'll wind up owing him. Well, I'll tell you, this has been, I don't know where we are on time, but I gotta
Looks like
tell
we're
you.
done, yeah.
I gotta tell you. It's,
The music is playing in the background, and we're getting the...
It's been the best. Pass the roll, people.
Yeah, good job on the pizzas. Right on.
You knocked those pizzas back.
They can stay on.
they can stay. So.
Continue to talk.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. I want to thank everybody. And
thank you, Jay and Frank and John.
John, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice to hear
great
from you guys.
questions.
Appreciate
and,
it so much.
Yeah, Punky Pax. This has been really fun and great to spend time always with you.
Thank you,
Awesome.
David.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Thank
night.
you all. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Great job.